Vince, I don't know, should the Rooks show more respect to the vet?
No, he's trying to make his name in the league. So to me, that's how you make your name, especially if you're a guy, if you're a high flyer. Everybody watches film. So when they watch that, everybody's going to react and they're going to say, hey, rewind that back? Oh, man, okay. You're aware of what he can do. So
that's like young Vince
Carter.
Keep
doing it, young fella.
There you go.
Absolutely. That's how you make it.
Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm alongside 8-time All-Star Vince Carter and NBA senior writer, host of The Low Post, Zach Lowe. Coming up, another impressive, important performance undone by a loss for James Harden. But should the former MVP be encouraged by the Rockets' start? We will discuss. First, though, plucky, feisty, spunky. If you're the Portland Trailblazers, you've heard all those descriptions over the years. And look, they're compliments, don't get me wrong. But the thing about Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum is that they aren't here to be anyone's cute little spoilers. They're here to win a championship, which is why when the Blazers had a rough preseason, it raised some eyebrows. It's why there was even more talk after Portland turned in a 20-point loss in its season opener, a game in which Lillard, gasp, went on a scoreless streak in the first half. Yes, Portland had dealt with a rash of COVID absences, but wasn't this the team that had one of the best off seasons in the NBA, with Yusuf Nurkic back at full strength, with Gary Trent Jr. blossoming and Robert Covington and Derrick Jones Jr. coming aboard? Questions piled up about why the Blazers weren't, better. It turns out that those questions were being asked internally, too. And what has happened since? Well, no one is winning a title in Game 2 or 3 of the regular season. But it is hard to get where you want to go if you're not even walking down the right road. And Portland seems, at least finally, to have found its path. First, over the weekend, an overtime thriller against Houston, in which CJ and James Harden each dropped 44. It was hardly a statement win. The Rockets only had 9 players available due to their own COVID issues. But it sure felt noisy, especially when McCollum, who'd spent 4 days listening to his name come up in Harden trade reports, buried the game-winning 3 with 6 seconds on the clock. Afterward, he said, quote, "I know I'm nice," which is amazing. And then last night, a date with the defending champs, the team that had knocked the Blazers out of the bubble. With both LeBron and AD on the floor, this one was more of a real test. And despite some streaky play, the Blazers passed. Gary Trent Jr. was exceptional off the bench, hitting from everywhere to finish with 28. Nurk and Enes Kanter combined for 26 rebounds. And Damian Lillard just caught fire when he had to do moves like this on his way to a 31-point night. Yeah, you can check out the handles on the way to the and one. But the real story was the Blazers' defense, which had been the focal point of the front office this offseason. The Blazers have been trying a revised scheme, even bringing in ex-Bulls head coach Jim Boylan on a 3-week stint to help implement it. But for a while, it seemed to be making things worse, not better. Until it didn't. Whatever clicked for the team defensively in the second half of the Houston game was on full display against the Lakers, with Rocco all over the place, making steals, deflections, even making Anthony Davis look like a mere mortal as Davis finished the game with just 13 points. Meanwhile, Derrick Jones Jr., full airplane mode on LeBron, bounding in from the three-point line to give the Finals MVP a taste of one of his own signature moves. The Lakers had gone into the night 59-0 in games which they led after 3 quarters. That had been the 5th longest streak in NBA history, and the Blazers broke it. It was a well-rounded win in a shortened season where every win counts a little more than usual. Of course, only time will tell what wins like this mean. Is it one of those impressive sparks the Blazers have lit all the time over the past few years? You know, wins that make a team plucky? Or is it the beginning of a larger flame, one that really could burn down the whole league? So, Vince, do you think that this Blazers team can join the rank of title contender?
They put the right pieces around it. You have shooting, you have rebounding, you have airplane mode, who is their shot blocker. I think everybody is going to have to play at that level, elite level, all year long, all playoffs long, leading into it. I think Zach Collins, getting him back is going to be important. And also having Carmelo, because there's a guy who can get you a bucket when you need it, that demands attention and the double teams. You know, it's tough. The West is tough, and they're in a situation where if they play well and you have a good record, you're like, oh, they're playoff bound. And, I think they just need to get in. And they're a scary team to beat because of their scoring. Gary Trent Jr., who's a rising star and another complimentary scorer, they have the ability, but, they have to stay healthy, and we'll see.
Right now, they're short of that, I think. But they're contenders to be contenders, and that's a good step for the Blazers. You have to put them behind Lakers, Clippers, and Nuggets after what Denver did in the bubble. You have to put them behind all those teams. In that next tier of teams, Utah, Dallas, Portland, I think Portland has the most to prove. Utah has a longer track record of being a good defensive team. Portland's defense was a disaster last season. As Vince said, Covington, Jones, the return of Zach Collins, they've got the tools there to be an average defense, maybe a slightly above average defense. We just have to see. And then Dallas has what you really want if you want to contend for a title, which is one of the apex predator wings. 6'7", sees every pass, can score from all over the floor, and that's, of course, Luka Doncic. It's just tough sledding in the playoffs when your two best scorers are small guards, and those guys are incredible. Dame is incredible, and CJ is nice. Just like he said, he's nice. He's got the deepest bag of tricks in the whole league. It's just they've got more to prove. They've got more to show us. But given their resources, given what they had to work with, they've put a pretty damn good team together. And all you can ask for in that situation is, are we one ankle injury from a rival? Are we one big break? Are we one trade away from being in the conference finals? And I think they can get in that conversation. But top-tier contenders, they're not there yet.
Yeah, but I will say this. I think adding Covington is going to be essential for them because they're going to need somebody, like you said, to guard Luka Doncic. They're going to need somebody to guard LeBron. Some of these big Kawhi. Some of these big guards, these big scorers, and Covington, like you saw him guarding AD, he's going to be very important to their squad. He's going to have to stay healthy because I think, like you said, with the small guards, when you're seeing Luka trying to post those guys up, you can throw a Covington on him, and Covington can guard 1 through 4 and maybe some 5. So he's going to play an important role to that squad.
Let's switch over to Robert Covington's old team for a second here. James Harden, another explosive scoring game on Monday, scoring 34 points in 31 minutes. Harden's new teammate, Christian Wood, another 20-point game of his own. But the Nuggets won this decisively, guys. Houston 0-2 as they wait for John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins to rejoin the team. James spoke post-game on the process of his team's improvement. Take a listen.
Everything. You need practice. You need reps. You need to drill things. Just, we still them in our heads. So when we're out there on the games, we're not overthinking. We know where we're supposed to be defensively and offensively. And at that point, it's just execute.
So, Zach, James not tipping a lot in his public comments. Do you think that Harden should be encouraged by the Rockets' first 2 games, especially considering they're missing the guys that they are?
We haven't seen their real team yet, so it's hard to know, right? You mentioned all the guys that they are missing, but they're dead last in defense after 2 games. I know it's only 2 games, but they just haven't been competing on defense. They've had a lot of communication errors, and maybe it is just the jumbled personnel. But Denver just picked them apart last night, toyed with them, just absolutely toyed with them. That's discouraging, and I don't know how fixable that is. Do you see a really good defensive team in here? I personally don't, and their effort in the first 2 games has not been that great. But the one sign of encouragement is Christian Wood is a stud, and Christian Wood is the best pick-and-roll partner, the most versatile pick-and-roll partner James Harden has ever had, unless you count Kevin Durant, who's on a different universe. Christian Wood is that good, and if some of the supporting pieces come together, he and James is the centerpiece of an offense, that can be really dynamic and really hard to guard, but it just doesn't seem like they have the spirit right now. When you're last in defense, you're last in defense.
Yeah, point blank. Zach said it. When you're last in defense, you are. But, the one thing about it, you have DeMarcus Cousins coming back. You have John Wall. So they're impact players, guys who can make a difference, can help you offensively. Defensively, I don't know. But, for them, they're going to have to get out and run. And obviously, that's what John Wall can do and get up and down the court, get to the basket and transition and make plays. So defensively, it's going to be the question. They're going to have to outscore teams to win, which we've seen them do. James Harden has shown that he's in form and he's ready to go. It's just that's going to be the question all year. Christian Wood, let me just say, first of all,